Hi, welcome to my channel Cloud with Girish. I am Girish, an AWS community builder and cloud technology enthusiast with expertise in delivering customer-focused, business-impacting cloud transformation programs of high complexity. In my previous videos, I have explored several powerful features of Kiro IDE and how it is transforming the way developers build software using agentic AI workflow. Some of the areas I have covered include vibe coding for rapid idea-to-code prototyping, specs-driven development using structured requirement, design and task workflow, hooks and steering document to guide consistent code generation and developer workflow, building real-world applications such as customer lookup API, powered by Amazon API Gateway, AWS Lambda, Amazon DynamoDB, and AWS SAM. Through these examples, I have demonstrated how developers can build meaningful solutions simply by providing prompts and leveraging Kiro intelligent code generation capability while still maintaining full control over review, refinement, and deployment. Since AI governance is equally important, especially for enterprise adoption, I have also shared content on secure enterprise rollout of Kiro IDE using AWS IAM Identity Center and AI model policy and MCP governance using the Kiro administrative dashboard. You can find all the content on my channel Cloud with Girish on YouTube. In this video, I take a simpler but very practical use case, using Kiro IDE to build a simple portfolio website using only HTML and CSS, starting from a simple prompt and following Kiro specs-driven workflow from requirement to final prototype. In this hands-on walkthrough, I used Kiro to create a simple personal portfolio website from a natural language prompt, then iteratively refined it using follow-up prompts. This is a great beginner-friendly example that demonstrates how Kiro uses requirement for understanding intent, design for defining technical design, and then task for execution planning, and then iterative prompts for incremental improvement. Let's walk through it. So let's see what we will build. For this hands-on example, let's use a simple and practical real-world scenario. Imagine you are a software engineer who wants to create a lightweight personal portfolio website to showcase your professional journey and technical work online. The goal is to build a simple website that highlights professional experience, which is a brief summary of your career journey and domain expertise, key projects, selected projects that demonstrate your technical skills and business impact, and then contact information, an easy way for recruiter, peers, or collaborators to reach you. GitHub and technical blogs, so link to your public code repo and technical writing. Rather than manually creating HTML and CSS from scratch, I will ask Kiro IDE to generate the entire website prototype using a natural language prompt. This makes it a perfect beginner-friendly use case to demonstrate how specs-driven development in Kiro can transform a simple idea into a working website by progressive thought. So prompt takes you to the requirement, that takes you to the design, that takes you to the task, and then code. You review, refine, and that's pretty much like you get your a working website. So let's build it. So step one is starting with the initial prompt. As with most workflow in Kiro IDE, everything begins with a natural language prompt. The goal here is not to provide detailed technical implementation step upfront. Instead, I clearly describe the business need, expected website structure, and a few technical constraints. Then allow Kiro to interpret and translate that into a structured development workflow. Here is the initial prompt I provided to Kiro. I'm a software engineer with 5 years of experience in the financial banking industry. My initial projects included creating a customer-serving banking website, a credit card launch project, a regulatory requirement project, currently working on a generative AI customer service chatbot integrated with company knowledge base. I would like to create a portfolio website to showcase my job experience. Create a simple website only using HTML. Here are the requirements. I would like 4 tabs: about me, projects, contact, and a section to link my GitHub and technical blogs. I want it to be a single page website, no JavaScript, simple CSS is allowed, no testing framework required, and a simple prototype only. This prompt gives Kiro enough context to understand who the user is, what needs to be built, how it should look, technical constraint, and expected complexity. This is an important concept when working with Kiro. Better prompts lead to better specs and cleaner generated code. Step number 2. Confirm if this is a new feature or a bug. Once the initial prompt is submitted, Kiro IDE begins by asking an important clarifying question. Is this a new feature or a bug? For this use case, the answer is straightforward, so I selected a new feature. This small step is important because it helps Kiro determine the appropriate workflow path. By selecting new feature, Kiro activates its structured, specs-driven development workflow, which guides the implementation through requirement, design, task, and code. This ensures development starts with intent and structure and not just immediate code generation. Step number 3, generate requirement. So now the next step is to ask Kiro to begin with the requirement. Kiro automatically generated a file. This file is named as Requirements.md, and what I'm showing here is an example output. It's the markdown file, and as you can see that Kiro has generated the initial set of requirement based on the prompt. This step converts a plain English prompt into a structured product requirement. So instead of jumping into the code, Kiro is first defining what must be built, what functionality is required, and what technical boundaries exist. This is one of the biggest strengths of specs-driven development that is supported by Kiro. Let's look at the next step, generating the technical design. Once the requirements are approved, Kiro moves to the next step in the workflow using the approved requirement as context to generate the technical design. Again, it creates a file called design, and here is the example output that you are seeing on the screen. So here it's defining the design for the website. Now similarly, it's taking the requirement into an implementation blueprint. So at this stage, we now know the overall architecture, the technology being used, the major UI component, expected styling principle. And this helps reduce ambiguity before code generation begins, which is the next step. So now let's look at the task. Kiro gonna generate the task, which is the implementation plan. So that is stored in a task file, and here is the example output. Again, it's the markdown file where the tasks are being generated, and you can review those, and then once it's all good to go, then that's your execution plan. So instead of one large generation step, Kiro breaks implementation into manageable tasks, making it easier to review progress, adjust individual tasks, and iterate safely. So now, once requirement, design, and tasks are approved, Kiro start execution. So you will see that 3 files have been generated: requirement, design, and task. Kiro executes the task and creates the actual website file. In this example, there are two files, index.html and style.css. At this point, the first working prototype is complete. Without manually writing a single line of code, we now have a functional single-page portfolio website generated directly from a prompt. This is the power of agentic development with Kiro IDE. At this stage, the prototype is complete. Let's see that what has been generated. So here is the initial website layout. Once Kiro has completed the implementation task, the first version of the portfolio website was generated. This initial portfolio prototype included these sections: about me, projects, and then contact and links. And this is per the prompt and the requirements and the design that was generated. Here is the initial website generated by Kiro IDE. As you can see, it's a pretty standard HTML-based website. So it has the sections about me, project, contact, and links. And then it has the about me sections, the keys and the projects sections, also the contact section and the links. Now we can make iterative improvement using the follow-up prompt. This is where Kiro IDE acts as your coding partner. Once the initial prototype is generated, you can continue refining the application using simple follow-up prompts without manually editing file or searching through code. So here is the first example, changing the email address. I provided a prompt saying, hey, update the email under contact section to this email, and Kiro identified the relevant section and update only the contact section. No manual file search or code edit required, just a simple prompt-driven change. And then here is the example of update number 2. I provided a prompt to convert the vertical skills to horizontal layout. In the initial design, the key skill section used vertical bullet point, which consumed too much screen space. So I provided a prompt that key skills taking too much space, rather than vertical bullet, make it horizontal. And Kiro automatically updated both the HTML structure and CSS styling. Here is the code that was generating the vertical bullet point, and after Kiro has updated it based on the prompt, it adjusted the code, and this is how the key skills section on the website now looks. This small update significantly improved the layout by making the skill section cleaner, more compact, and visually easier to scan. This demonstrates the real value of iterative development with Kiro. A small prompt, targeted change, immediate improvement. Now, what you're seeing in this screen is the architecture diagram. I have generated this architecture diagram using Kiro skills feature, but that is a topic for another session. In this diagram, as you can see, this is taking my code that was generated, analyzing it, and creating a design diagram for this. So it's saying, hey, I have the tabs, and it is basically taking in consideration that it's a single page website, static website that can be hosted in a S3 bucket and can be delivered through the content delivery network like CloudFront, and use the DNS service like Route 53. So we will see it in action, that how Kiro works. So let's see it in action. I am in my Kiro environment, and I just wanted to show you that how Kiro will act when you provide a prompt. So here is my prompt that I provided to Kiro, and as you can see that Kiro has analyzed my prompt, and then based on that, it started to create the requirement document. And here is the requirement document. You can see that a very detailed requirement document that has been created by Kiro. And once the requirement document was created, it proceeded to create the design document. And then that's another file, and that's a pretty well documented design talking about the banner, the sections, the content, and so on, all the different sections. And once that design was completed, then an implementation plan was created by the Kiro. And this is how the implementation plan looks like. As you can see that it provides a reference back to the requirement. So it's saying this task will implement these requirements. It's pretty neat actually. And then once the task was executed, the task completed, then the end result really was to have an index HTML and CSS. So that's the file that we have here. You can see, let's see, like about 364 lines of code generated by Kiro for this simple portfolio website. And we can look at it. Let me show you like how this portfolio website looks. If you see, this portfolio website has been implemented by Kiro, and it has the 4 sections, just like I asked in my prompt: the about me, the project, contact, link. These are fully functional sections. And we have our about me section, projects, and contact section, the links, and so on. So really very neatly created. And of course, I can always refine it further by providing the incremental prompt. But I just wanted to demonstrate that how the finished product looks like once Kiro has completed all the specs and the code generation task. In this video, I used Kiro IDE to build a simple portfolio website and demonstrated how specs-driven development can transform a plain English prompt into a working HTML prototype. By combining structured requirements, technical design, task-driven execution, and iterative follow-up prompt, I moved seamlessly from idea to implementation without manually writing the code. Whether you are designing developer workflow, generating architecture diagram, or building intelligent automation, Kiro skills offer a practical way to encapsulate domain expertise and apply it dynamically when needed. In part 2, we will take this further with a hands-on implementation of the system diagram skill, demonstrating how to generate AWS architecture diagram directly from natural language prompt. I'm constantly creating new content on various AWS topics, so please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Cloud with Girish channel. Your support helps me continue producing valuable AWS tutorials and workshops. Stay tuned for more exciting content. Thank you.